That's a home run, bro.
That's fucking dark.
Dark is back.
Indeed. So also back, am I into my house in Spain? I flew back. I was so smart that I flew back really early in the morning on the Sunday morning, right after daylight savings time, took an hour away from my night's sleep. So I with some friends, I went out to a stand-up comedy show, which we can talk about later, maybe, to a theater that I've always wanted to go to. And we got back home at like 1 a.m. And my flight in London, and my flight was at 9 a.m. So I had to get to the airport by 8 a.m. And the train was like an hour and a half.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
4 a.m.
I got up at 5:30.
That was late.
In order to leave by 6, but of course, when you get up at 5:30, like you're out the door by 5:40. But
you do.
But it
You've
was
got everything ready, including hanging your coat near the door with your keys in the pocket.
Indeed. But it was, yeah. So like I got like 3 hours of sleep that night.
But perfect.
And then,
I mean, you can sleep when you're dead. I mean, what a great time.
Right. So like I went out to the Leicester Square Theatre, which is a place that I remember. Leicester Square is a super famous part of London. It is where they do all, like, there's a cinema there where they do all of the like Hollywood premieres of new movies.
Oh yeah.
And Leicester Square Theatre is a little theater nearby that I've for a long time I have followed comedians that will like promote, oh, and I'm at Leicester Square Theatre, leave dates. And so when I knew that I was going there, I thought, I'm going to see who's on in Leicester Square Theatre. And turns out a comedian that I know of was performing. Her name is Felicity Ward, and she's an Australian that you're familiar with The Office, like maybe.
Yes.
Maybe,
both the British and the American ripoff.
Okay, so there's a new ripoff that is the Australian version of The Office that is on Amazon Prime, and they flip all the gender roles. The boss.
You told me about this.
Yes,
There's
probably.
a podcast, right?
Well, maybe
Along with the.
No. There are podcasts for other things that I watch, but not this. So the main boss is a woman, and the crazy sidekick is a woman, and the gym character is a woman, and so anyway, the boss is played by this person that I saw live perform, and I was in the second row. I've learned to not get in the first row for a comedy show because you
better be the
although
subject.
You know what, I honestly wouldn't give a shit if a comedian like heckled me and was like, "You there? Where are you from? Let me make a joke about you." Like, I think that would be amazing. Like some people fear being called out in front of a bunch of strangers, but who the hell cares?
Sure.
And so anyway, she gave it was almost like a 2-hour set. Like there was an intermission in the middle, but it was a long set.
Did you laugh out loud?
It was good. laughing out loud. I did a little bit. Like I've learned to, because I have so little experience in the audience of of stand-up comedy. Last time, like I learned to let the laughter out a little bit easier than when you're sitting at home on the sofa. But definitely this time there was one part of her story where I uttered like, "Oh no," or whatever, and she picked up and she was like, "Yes, oh no is right." Like she heard me, and I was like, "Yes." So anyway,
cool.
it was fucking awesome.
You were in the show, man. You were in the show. Cameo.
I was in the show.
Cameo.
Yeah.
Erik Rasmussen, played by himself.
Yes, indeed. But it was.
So this sounds really
cool.
Good. Now, just let me interrupt something because it's nagging in the back of my head like a pickaxe. You told a story of being in a bar once and running into a woman who, as it turns out, was somehow theatrical, but she was a rock star as opposed to an actress.
Yes.
And
that was 1 year ago, also in London, where I had come back from 2 or 3 days of really intense, thinking at work, and the bar across from my hotel was closing, and I was like, "Oh, that sucks." But they were like, "Yeah, but the way they do things in England is like downstairs there's a cocktail bar, and you can also get beer down there." It's like, okay, well, that's dumb, but whatever. So yeah, I went down there and
But no bar where the comic was?
No. This is a year ago.
Right.
Different place.
Yes, you told me this. You told me this.
And it was and I was just sitting there, goofing around on my phone or whatever, and this very lovely lady was also sitting goofing around on her phone. And when I was about to leave, I said, I started talking to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm here to record my album in Abbey Road Studios." And
right.
And she continues to be a rock star in.
So do you follow her some?
A little bit on Twitter. Like she's got some new songs and stuff, and
put her in the show notes, man. She's famous. But this other
Leilani Kilgore is her name.
What's her name?
Leilani Kilgore.
Leilani.
Tough name. Yes.
Leilani. Laloney.
Leilani. Leilani. Kilgore.
French. Kilgore's not French.
Yeah, I don't know, but she's touring all around.
So back to the comedian.
Yes, Felicity Ward.
You did laugh out loud occasionally, but did you show your appreciation in other ways, like clapping or?
I did. There were some spontaneous.
You enjoyed it.
There were some jokes that I was like, yes, that's good. Maybe there were times when like I might have been the only one clapping. Like that's a fucking good joke. I'm gonna fucking clap for you.
Well, that's probably why she recognized you in the first place.
Well, her set was good. I had heard. Because I had looked her up a little bit, like I some of the jokes were recycled, but you know what? Recycled jokes are just fine.
Sure.
I don't care if I've heard the joke before. It was funny the first time. It's funny now. Like the whole idea that you need to have a whole new set.
Right.
Every
stuff
performance.
Works.
Yeah.
You use the stuff that works. And if the last show you did it got a laugh, you're going to do it again. And if you don't get a laugh, well, that means that the audience is different. Oh well, but it's what a time. And who are these buddies of yours that you hooked up with? Tell me about that.
There's some friends that I know from just they're friends with other friends that I met online, and like
Two people, two men.
no, a husband and wife.
Oh yes.
Where
Did
like
you stay there?
I stay at their house. Yeah.
You stay at their house. What their name are? John and Joni. I remember. No,
Close.
Jack and Trudy.
Well, we could go for another hour. It's
Good.
it's Andrew and Carrie are their names.
Andrew and Carrie. That's pretty.
Yes.
Now,
But
you call
it
him Andrew,
was
not Andy.
yes.
And you call her Carrie, not Carrie. Has she ever had blood dumped on her head?
Yeah. I don't know.
Who would name their child Carrie? I mean, that's anymore. I have a niece named Carrie, but she was named Carrie before the movie. But since the movie,
Right. This woman is older than the movie, so.
oh, there you go. There you go.
But it was great to like. That's a thing that I don't have in my little fishing village. Like, maybe we could go out to a 45-minute drive into the city and see something. But even then, the cities that we have aren't like capital cities where you're going to get like proper top stuff.
Top stuff.
But it was very cool.
So what'd you do after the set? What time the set end? If you didn't get back to 1, you must have went drinking.
Well, she made the comedian made a big deal out of the craziness that the set started at 9:30 p.m. So like
She went to 11:30.
yeah, so like we had already had a nice dinner, and then we went to see the show, and then it was just like an hour taxi ride home, basically.
Oh. So you're close.
Because they live just outside the city, which is during the midday, it's like a 40-minute train into the city.
You stayed there?
Yeah.
And then you went to the airport from there?
And then I went to the airport from there, yes.
Was it closer than down?
No.
Further?
It was long. It was a long way to the airport.
Oh,
but
who cares?
But I made it. And it was... so whenever I go to London, or really anywhere, like to the US as well, like because I can pay everything just like with Apple Pay, like with touching my phone or my watch. There's no need to like exchange currency anymore. Like I did when I went to Morocco. They did suggest really you need some cash, and I did do that, and I needed the cash. But you can just pay everything with with touch now, and it's so nice.
Modern,
like,
so very, very
you don't have
modern.
to deal, and the underground is just like you like before, like 20 years ago when I was visiting London. You had to go and you had to put money into a machine to get a ticket, and then you would slide the ticket into the thing, and it would go zoop and pop up, and then you could like do your journey.
Yep.
And it mattered if you were in zone 1 or zone 2 or whatever. And now you just touch your fucking phone without pressing any buttons.
Fucking
you just touch your phone
America.
to the turnstile.
You're like a James Bond type in a way, because you know.
I know, right?
I bet you're driving around an Aston Martin that's bulletproof and can actually, amphibious and can also fly.
Yes.
You're an international man now. You really are. You're a jack of all trades.
We got a couple of bullet hits to my hovercraft, but we were fine. Oh.
Can you, have you sharpened your skill at creating a hologram of yourself so that when you leave your friends to go to the bathroom, you're still there? Because I thought that's what you were working on.
Oh, you think I'm really on this call? That's cute.
Well, quick
This is just an LLM.
Just
just
quick as a whip with that whip.
Eric GPT is talking to you now.
Just insightful.
I don't know. I've been in bed for 2 hours.
Well, I wondered why you seemed improved in character and skill and agility. It must be because you're super programmed and you not only are a hologram of your own self, which is sad, but true. It is what it is. You look the way you look. You can't change it. And then superimpose an encyclopedic knowledge of various things that you otherwise don't know anything about. They appear to be smarter. And also, you appear to be wittier because they got a genogram that fit into the back of your robot fucking hologram self and made you glib, and where before no glibness existed. So I'm glad to see it. Welcome. We call you Erik 2.
I used to be a hologram, but now I'm a holokilogram.
You're a holo what? Telegram?
Holokilogram. Kilogram.
Because you're so small?
Because I'm so weighty. Hefty.
You're so what?
Weighty. Hefty.
Weighty?
Weighty.
Weighty? Yes. What do you mean? As if you're lifting weights? I doubt it. I don't think you never exercise like that. So, entertainment news on my end. I, once again, since we're on a travelogue discussion, I too traveled. I had a receipt.
Can you go to the hardware store?
That I touched today for $2.69 for 4 little black screws that I bought at the hardware store that I had to bill to an account. And man, getting those screws, the guy who helped me on point, had to be a certain size. As it turns out, they didn't work. But
oh no!
Well, no,
they were the wrong size.
The holes were too big. I filled the holes. I was putting on an antique doorknob with an antique doorknob plate, brass, which I cleaned up, and a black doorknob, and so I needed black screws. And
so you were knobbing.
The holes were so big that I could put a long screw through the hole on one plate, and it would come out the corresponding plate hole on the other side of the door. So I filled it full of stuff that you can screw into wood putty, essentially, and put the screws in while it was wet, and made it a permanent fixture. And because the doorknob had been stripped so that the doorknob and the handle came out when you pulled it, because the little peg in there that's supposed to stop it is worn down. Well, I took that and I bought a epoxy that is a metal epoxy that you would use to on a rebuilding of your engine for your car. And this is the shit you would use to join metal to metal. And squirted some of that inside and made that permanent as well. And there you have it. Put in a new frame around
metal
the door.
To metal.
Door closes tight, put in a new sill. There was a problem. I looked at the sill, and there was a little place where the tile for the floor that I laid ended, and it needed expert cut work to finish it, and it was shaped out of square. It was kind of a long triangle, 36.
And you're an expert cutter.
Long.
Which is...
And what I did instead of tile, I filled it full of material and primed it and painted it. And now the sill is there, but it's odd shaped. I feel very good about this. On top of it...
Well, you left an odd-shaped sill?
What? Still?
Why would you leave an odd-shaped sill?
an odd-shaped sill. It sits there still. If I had to call it something, I'd call it Bill. Why? Because it cost me $2.02, which ends the story about the trip I took to the hardware store and the receipt that I had in my hand. Now you know
That's so
the
true, man.
rest of the story.
Odd-shaped sill. I mean, you're kind of an odd-shaped sill yourself.
I am an odd-shaped shill, not an odd-shaped sill. When I run
Odd-shaped
my
shill.
game, who takes the blame? It's me. It will always be. Still.
Wow.
There once was a man from Nantucket
Yes?
who was a shill, and his wife said, well, fuck it. He gave her a bid. She took it on big.
Yes?
If I wasn't PC, I'd say fuck it.
Wow.
That's
That's
modern,
poetry right there.
That's
Dennis GPT right
a
there.
modern take. So wait, I got to tell you. So this strikes a story I wanted to tell you. So entertainment
Yes.
desk.
Yes.
So I finished up all the seasons of Big Little Lies, which is incredible acting, all female cast, and I believe they're creating another comeback. I can't wait. Finished all that and came across a remembrance of some kind of Deadwood with an incredible cast, and it was summarily canceled after 3 seasons, unexpected, and as a result of it, and unfulfilled plot and subplots, they made a movie called Deadwood.
Yeah.
And so I'm glimming on all fucking 3 years, and so I haven't seen it in years and years and years, and so I'm watching it and thinking, about, well, now I know that after 3 years it'd be canceled. So what was really good about it, and what would you say? Oh, well, that wasn't quite perfect or whatever. And some of the acting was a little stilted this time around, but nonetheless, the lead character played by an Irishman, I want to say Ian. Oh fuck! Well, we'll worry about him later.
Yeah.
But he is riveting. He just eats up the screen, and one of the things that he does is his character comes clear, almost like breaking the fourth wall, when he is either pissing,
Ian McShane.
or yes, McShane, or when he's getting a blowjob. And when he's getting a blowjob, he's waxing poetic about all the shit that's going on in his life, including at some point in the process that he climaxes with these interactions with the woman, a whore who works for him, who's giving him a blowjob, and he treats her terrible and says terrible things to her. And she's nothing but a piece of property. And in another part of the film, the Chinese alley where the meat was distributed in the camp, there was a conflict there, and 2 major Chinese men were in conflict. And one of the things the newcomer did was he brought in Chinese whores and then ended up convincing the white men to fuck these whores for 10 cents instead of a quarter, and they treated them like dogs. And there's actually imagery, which is my point, is today this could never be shown.
Right.
Throwing dead Chinese whores into a burning fire.
Jesus. Okay.
And I realized why, and this was many years ago. This was probably a decade ago. But this is the thing. How in God's name
Was
the
this
difference
greenlit to be
between
broadcast?
today, what's PC, and then what went on for 3 years, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And in fact, from a historical perspective, there's probably all sorts of shit about this online. I haven't looked at it. I think I will. Is that, you know what? It's realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
It's realistic. I mean, and so there's this thing of to say, well, what else? What other part of history do you want me to not be accurate? How about how are the African Americans portrayed here?
Yep.
Well, they're portrayed as workers. They're portrayed as tradesmen. They're certainly accepted in the taverns and all of that. They've got claims for gold. It's very open toward that
Right.
set of circumstances. So if that's the way they treated women, as awful as it was, it's not making fun of it. It's not saying that it's okay. It's just
Right.
depicting it as real, because one of the central themes of it is these fucking men, including the lead character who owns the saloon, Ian, what'd you say, McShane, right?
McShane, yeah.
His character is so despicable. A murderer, a gambler, a whore master.
They all were, yeah. So it's.
But he's why you keep going back and watching every episode, because he eats up the screen.
That's the pushback I've heard against, like, the like liberal we need to protect the children, let's censor all the books that have the N-word in them, and let's not talk about those horrors.
Fuck history.
But what you end up doing is you end up like cleaning up all of this really horrible history that we had.
Well,
like
I don't know that it's
like my sixth grader is reading a book about Anne Frank. It's not the Diary of Anne Frank, because because that would be too fucking dark. But like, it's important that we remember the shit that we did to each other in the past, and cleaning it up, because we don't want, like, we want everything to be, rainbows and unicorns. Like, it's not the right way to go, because then we forget that how evil we can be to each other, and that is going to cause us to repeat the same issues.
Well, and yes, and the argument that can be had is, look, we can go ahead and agree that the historical relevance of the treatment of women by these terrible men is accurate, but let's not make entertainment out of it. And then the response to that is, how else will people learn about it?
Right. You're not going to watch it if it's a documentary that is super boring and dry. Yeah.
And so surviving 3 seasons, of course, it would never get past the first episode. Under Trump it might, God only knows.
I have there's a podcast that I don't listen to all the time, but I like, where it's 2 like philosophy professors, like they're PhD philosophy people, and they review the latest in philosophy and sociology and psychology papers that are published, and they are massive Deadwood fans. Like, they love the shit out of Deadwood. Like, they they think that is some of the best television that has ever been put out, and like, and what little I've seen, I guess maybe I watched a little bit of the movie, but like, if I had the freaking time, I would totally jump into to Deadwood. But
Well,
like, I get what it is, that it is this this they it's one of these shows where like everyone speaks really eloquently, but like from the time where it's set. Like there's no ums and ahs or whatever, but they're
quite eloquent.
Just the language that they use in Deadwood is supposedly like
It's
just gorgeous.
It's eloquent in my view, and there's a scene
Eloquent and super filthy. Like they could be like,
yes,
oh well, I would never even touch your cocksucking cunt, motherfucker, unless the sun was arised.
There's a scene where the self-appointed mayor, the owner of the hotel, walks into the room where Schwergen, the lead character, is sitting in his office talking with one of his one of his killer men, Adams, and the hotel guy comes in all dressed, and fanciful, and says, so the sheriff is now he's a hotel owner. The sheriff is now in the room with Mrs. Britt, whatever the fuck her name is, and I have no idea what they're doing because I did not sit and listen to the bedstead speaking.
Right.
And the way that he said it, he was really proud of the turn of phrase.
Yeah.
And thought it was funny, and said it for a reaction because he was being eloquent.
Yes.
And the funny part was, both the men facing the camera with their back to him completely ignored him in brown studies. Completely ignored him. And so the mayor throws his hands up in the air and says, fine, I'll go check on the fucking whores. And storms out of the room. And it's rare that that a character would acknowledge that the eloquent way that he's speaking is special. They're usually just doing it. In the case of the lead character, his character is that guy who is as eloquent and convincing. He has goons working for him. He's a cartoon character monster with the ability to make money and spread money, and he kills to get it, and he steals to get it, and he's successful at getting it, and he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And the acting is superb.
I've always been a fan of these shows where the actors are more eloquent than reality. That, like, if they were trying to portray reality, like, they're failing. But like, I remember like back in the '90s, like Dawson's Creek, like the characters spoke so beautifully in complete sentences with just really like thought out thought in a way that teenagers don't speak. But I mean, I guess that's theater, right? Like that's what we like about going to see. I don't know about just Shakespeare, but any theater where like there's never an actor on stage that says, and the other person says what, like we do in real life all the time.
What do you mean?
Because,
What did you say? Or
exactly.
right? Or changes
Exactly.
the subject? Or yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and this the rudeness.
Like when
of the
when you
language.
rehearse all your lines, like we do for this podcast, like where I just came and talked over you because it was in the script. It feels more fake
Yeah.
than.
Let me give you a little assignment in your free time. Ask your computer
Yes.
how many times an episode in Deadwood do they use the term cocksucker. And before we go into it, well, of course you haven't watched it. I have. I would say that in an episode, the most prolific episode, they said it 50 times in what is less than an hour show. This is somebody has had to have done this research. It's a pretty important question when you.
So I have the answer already.
Do you? What is it?
279.
Huh?
279. Like
In
someone
an
has made a
episode?
no of every season.
That's of every season or all seasons combined.
All the
Okay,
seasons.
so that's
No, but
30
there's like someone has put together a video that I will put in the show notes and also send to you, where they actually like cut every single one together. So
well,
that will be for your enjoyment.
that'll be,
I don't know how many minutes that is.
That'll
But
be the first time I go to the show notes. I want to see that. Hey, did you put in the show notes? Show notes. That you'll see that's
fair enough.
Freudian slip. The show notes, that video about the shaver that shaves men's pubic area, where there's two guys full of hair, and they keep popping up out of the water. Do you know about this?
Maybe that was like months ago that you mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, did you? But you didn't find it.
Maybe. Like I don't know that I want all that in my
I
Google
just
history,
saw
but
I saw a bit of it the other day, and it made me wonder if we had pondered it.
no, but
So-
I haven't. It's been months since I've on like the Meta platforms where I used to see advertisements for like you need to take care of yourself down there. Here's a yeah.
But this commercial, well, I know I've talked about it with you before, but it's hilarious because you don't know in the beginning what it's about because they're talking in innuendo. But
Right.
as this man is talking, these two, like he's in a
It's
hot
clever
tub,
as
for
fuck, yeah.
example, and these two heads pop out of the water and they're unshaven and unclean, or he's walking down a golf course and they're ahead of him, and you don't know exactly what it's about until the end. And that's when it strikes you as the funniest goddamn thing I've seen forever. I guess you didn't. I guess you didn't find it.
I may have. Let's see, shave. No, I don't have anything with shave in the show notes.
Damn.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will care
Hey.
enough to look this time, because last time, like I flew, like I said, I flew back super early in the morning, and there were no show notes for last episode, but.
You haven't done them yet? You're behind?
No, I just like we didn't mention any like links
It was
or
just
anything
totally
to talk about.
uninteresting from that perspective.
No, I
created-
mean we were talking about my red room and London and French food and noodles. I've got to pre-cook your noodles or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, but, I mean, you could have found some pictures of that
I could
fried
have.
noodles with Parmesan cheese. Are you kidding me? Put that underneath your broth, baby. Then you're
Yeah.
talking. Use those noodles and put in some Italian sausage soup. Oh, baby.
Yeah. Let's just keep going with grunts for the rest. So the German girl is here. She's nice.
Oh, yeah.
She's
You're
actually-
an exchange student, sort of.
Yeah. I thought she was going to be the 16 like my daughter, but she's actually like 18.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
But she's fine.
Handcuff them
Yeah.
to the pipes, man. Don't let them go
So,
anywhere. Should be a bad
they-
influence.
Yeah, they're fine. Like right now, they're out having dinner in the nearby town with their other exchange people. But
Did she
she's been nice so far.
Is she driving? She
No.
can't drive.
No.
How'd they get there?
Bus.
Ah,
How they came back? I don't know. Not my problem.
caring parent.
Yeah.
That's what happens when she goes out with an 18-year-old.
I'll just check, Well, actually, she might get up and go to school tomorrow before I get up, so I might see her on
Here's a
the weekend.
strange thing. Here's a strange thing.
Yes.
When I grew up,
Yes.
I deceived my parents for years. For years. Hid bad habits and drank and smoked cigarettes and got in trouble in school and got in fights and did all sorts of crazy shit. You don't seem to have any of that from your kids. And it's worth mentioning. I don't know that it's thank God for you and your family that that's true.
Yeah.
But it is very, very different from when I grew up. How about you? Did you deceive your parents, or you didn't?
So my daughter went through a phase when she was around 11 where she told us some really just crazy lies. Like, yeah, I totally did that, or they were just so easy to double check that if she was lying or not.
I wasn't very good
and-
at it.
He wasn't good at it, and we had some serious talks about, like, look, if you want us to trust you and to give you freedoms and things, like, we need some truth from you. And it took her like there was a year where it was just a problem, and her brother is now around that age, and he's told a couple where he's just been like, yeah, I made my own breakfast and put everything back in the dishwasher, and then I go and I look in the dishwasher and all the dishes are clean, and, like, clearly whatever he just said was not true. And then I go and I tell him, like, why would you tell me that? And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry. I just thought, I don't know. What he means with I don't know is I didn't think you would find out. Which is, of course, what is true of all lies. But did I lie a bunch around my... Like, I don't have any solid memories of a thing I got away with. Like, there was one time where... Like, I remember, like, the shame of one time I came home and I, like, had thrown away into the trash the, like, pre-prepared lunch that my parents had sent with me, and I had, like, bought, like a cafeteria pizza or whatever at school.
Yeah.
And I don't know, my mother, like, looked in the trash and was like, is this the sandwich that I prepared for you this morning? And I was like, Yeah, but nothing,
Nothing like what I'm just.
nothing like
I mean, my
the
high
stripper
school years.
the stripper that I murdered or whatever.
My high
You know,
school years were drinking and smoking marijuana and getting straight A's in school easily.
while doing all of that,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
because school was just such a fucking joke.
What wasn't allowed in the honor club, the honor society, because a cum average grade called discipline also had to be A's, and mine were in
Oops.
fact D's. I flunked discipline
You got a D in discipline.
for three
You put
and a
the D in
half
discipline.
years. 3.5 years. 3.5 years. You know the story. Erasing the score, putting in a better grade, getting my parents to sign it, erasing the score, putting in the score that was recorded originally, and turning it in. And when I finally got caught in my senior year, the prefect of discipline, Father Breitenauer, from the Sacred Heart of Cardinal Mindszenty High School, Cardinal Mindszenty, a Polish
Breitenauer?
prisoner of war. Breitenauer, German dude. He, in his office, me and the other dude who knocked the habit off a nun with his size 12 wingtip. You know the story.
The shoe, yes, the
You know the
shoe that was
story.
thrown down the stairwell or whatever.
This Breitenauer held up to the light my report card and showed clearly how you could see through it. Where I had erased it twice. And he said, it seems this have been doctored. And the whole episode, Breitenauer, a stout guy with a jowly who smoked a pipe, and when he was funny, which he was, he had his pipe upside down because it didn't have anything in it, whatever. And he wrote our musicals every
Fucking
year.
Breitenauer.
Took Broadway shows and created a plot, like Oklahoma and so just some great tunes. I was able to perform for 2 years under him, and he loved my performances. But here he was,
So he was
prefect of
awesome,
discipline.
but also the discipline guy.
yeah. I mean, and believe me, my behavior. I mean,
It amused the fuck out of him.
when he said she could have been killed, number one, she could have been if it hit her in the temple in just the right way. And number two, you recall that my associate, Steve Christofiak, I'll go on record here, he chuckled. He chuckled and put his hand up over his and the size 12 shoe on the desk. And he said, is part of this funny to you? Blah, blah, blah. And so, I don't know what sparked this diatribe, but...
No, you were asking about my kids.
right, the deceit.
Yeah.
The deceit and how great it is that, I wonder, here's a question. What percentage of people, a certain age group or whatever, maybe my age group,
Right.
were deceitful as measured by certain standards? We could roll off 5, 6 criteria right away, compared to your generation, and see if, in fact, as I believe the case, that it is greatly lessened with millennials. You are a millennial, in fact, correct?
Yeah, eldest possible millennial. My daughter would disagree with you really strongly. Like, her cohort are a bunch of assholes that
Her
lie. Her peers.
who are deceitful.
Yeah, they are horrible, lying, drug dealing, sex
Well,
having,
that's right on the point
drinking.
of the question, isn't it?
Like
And so she's the
she,
standout in that regard.
yes, but she she feels so much above all of the riffraff that goes to class with her, uh, in a way that, like, yeah, I mean, like, I can't really disagree with, but like, they are. She has stories about the
Oh,
other
the
kids
kids, yeah.
just being.
And she tells these stories to you freely,
Yeah, she
as
does.
because
Like
she's kind
that.
of disgusted by it, and like she says, like, "Dad, you won't believe it.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
won't
yeah.
believe it." These because she's so stunned by it. It's stupid.
Yeah, but yeah, and also, yeah, yes, exactly, and like how
Well, what a remarkable daughter.
I know, right? Like I am floored every time that she, and then she tells me like, oh yeah, this guy, made fun of my dress and called me a whore, and I was like, yeah, but what a stupid asshole you are.
Yeah.
Like it's just like everything just rolls off her because her self-esteem is just so uh maybe a little too
Pristine.
high.
Too high?
Es- Esteem, self-esteem. uh like
Did you say too high?
you're
You
too
didn't
high.
say too high. Did you?
Well, I mean,
Very high.
it's very high, but is there a thing as too high of self-esteem? I mean, I guess you get into
Uh,
narcissism there, but
well,
like,
it bleeds into arrogance or
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. But
self-righteousness,
she's
perhaps.
not arrogant, but
Oh, is
but
she self-righteous?
she's so confident in who she is and
Is she overly
what she.
confident? Can she, in
Yeah,
fact, can she in fact live up to her own expectations of how she fits in the culture and the world? Is she comfortable in her skin to the point that she feels her life is just fine?
uh, she would like to, like, she has high expectations for herself, and uh, like, so yesterday she went out with the exchange student people, and uh and she came to me and she said, Dad, we I got pressured into having this is like such a metaphor for all the dangerous things that are going to happen in the future. But she said, I got pressured into having this ice cream because everyone was having this ice cream, and like I wasn't really hungry, and I didn't really feel like having ice cream, and but so then like everyone's doing it, so I got the ice cream, and then I didn't feel very good. Like I felt like I wanted to vomit, like it's just like bad, and then like first of all, like I spent the money and then I didn't really enjoy the ice cream, and also like it sort of ruined my because she's in martial arts, she's in
Uh-huh.
uh, taekwondo, where like they have to fit into weight categories. So like
Right.
she's super into controlling her weight, but like not in a unhealthy way. And she's like, so I ruined the past week of like watching my food
Uh-huh.
intake, and
Did she
also
enjoy eating the ice cream and didn't
no, she
just
didn't like.
leave half of it?
So she was just like,
But she ate it all. Did she not?
I made this mistake because of peer pressure, and it was like, wow, what a fucking learning moment this is. Like, yes, we've all done that. We've all wished that we hadn't had
That's an amazing story to me because
that
it's
last
about
drink
ice
or that
cream.
last. You're right, exactly. Like, if it were, that last bump of Coke or whatever, then it
What
would
a
be,
tribute to your daughter and her relationship with you that she shared the ice cream story, and how
right,
wonderful it is that it wasn't about LSD or cocaine.
right, exactly. So,
Instead, it was
but
ice cream. And as a learning
But
moment,
it's such
yes,
a metaphor.
indeed. But here's the thing. At some point, she ignored the feeling at the moment and instead ate it all, or don't we know that?
Yes, we'll satiate it all. I don't know the facts.
Because the
yeah.
other thing she could have done was ordered a half portion and fulfilled the peer pressure to an extent.
Yeah, but the peer pressure is to order the full portion. I imagine in the moment
to scarf it down. Everybody, yeah,
right. So, like, I imagine that's what happened.
It wasn't just the. It
what a
wasn't
beautiful
just eating it. It was eating it with them.
Right.
In a gluttonous.
But like,
or would it be glutinous? Well, it'd be both, right? I mean.
Ice cream does not have gluten. There's no
Ice cream
bread.
is full of cow, and cows eat grass, and grass is full of gluten.
Well, ice cream, you scream.
We all scream for
Grass.
ice cream.
Yeah. So, just a beautiful metaphor for like all the mistakes that you will make.
Quick as a whip.
Hey, I've slipped since London.
Oh, oh, too funny. You are too funny. Oh God. Well, that's great that is just so strong and safe and predictable and mature and confident.
I'm blown away. Like, I don't deserve any of the credit. I mean,
your wife must be astounding.
Yes,
she must make up for all of your numerous and historically elucidated shortcomings.
Yes, but it's
including ones you frankly exhibited during this episode. But
I have many shortcomings, and sometimes
shortcomings and shortgoings makes for a quick trip, my friend. And I can only add to that: you should sleep when you're dead.
I'm going to kick you until you're dead.
She's dead now. She died a couple years ago. She was a sweetheart. So I saw a little bit of Steel Magnolias when she and Julia Roberts and...
I haven't seen that in years, but I know that I would fucking cry again.
Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin. Are you kidding me?
I have to watch that with my daughter.
All set in a town, Natchitoches, Louisiana, where I visited, and where we often went to I often went, and Nikki accompanied me some, to a bar that had a Mama's restaurant bar on one side of the building, and then on the other side of the, two buildings was Papa's, and Papa's was music.
You've mentioned this, I
Mama's
think,
was restaurant and bar. And had a
typical men-women divide
times there. And the funny story of coming in, the way that the town is spelled, if you were to sound it out, is Nacogdoches, and you can look it up. It's kind of phonetic, Nacogdoches. And I asked Siri how to pronounce it, and she said Nacogdoches. Well,
Siri doesn't know shit.
She was dead wrong.
Yes.
It's called Natchitoches. That's the way it's pronounced, Natchitoches. And so I went in all confident.
Yes.
Said something to somebody about Nacogdoches, and they looked at me and they went, Natchitoches. And I said, what? It's
Get out of my town.
Natchitoches. But in the front of the town, which overlooked a river, this beautiful river that went downhill from across the street down into the river, and all the beautiful oaks with the moss hanging everywhere, and the old southern estates, some which I've seen recently put up for sale, 1.5 million, 1.6 million. In fact, austere, and this is where this was filmed. And apropos to what, I can't recall, but there you have it.
Apropos to what? I can't recall. That's should be the new title of this endeavor.
This pilot.
So next week I'm here, and then the following week I'm in Rome.
Yeah, well,
I will be communing with the Caesars.
Next week I'm gone, and the week after I'm gone.
Okay.
Next week I'm basically New Orleans.
Fuck right off then.
Basically New Orleans, and then band practice. We got we're rehearsing tomorrow night as a 4-piece, as a quartet, because our second guitarist, the eminently gifted Mr. Jason Irvin, is like gone. You know, he's like out. He's like in Mexico doing some crazy great shit.
Because he has better things to do than hang with you guys.
Down in Mexico as well, Aruba, and so me, the bass player,
drummer's down in Mexico.
Player,
that's my story.
What's that?
My drummer's down in Mexico is a phrase I often use.
Is a what?
The phrase I often use. My drummer's down in Mexico. That's like when
you say that all the time in your in your world. My drummer's down in Mexico. I know not what to do. Only a bass player and a guitarist are able to get through.
Yes.
The three of us will jam tomorrow, trying to do our best. And when the drummer joins us, he'll have to figure out the rest.
Nailed it.
Right, man. It rhymed, man.
It rhymed, and it was like semi-coherent.
So it's the annual blossoming of the trees next door.
The dogwoods.
The almost look like dogwoods, but they're not dogwoods. They're
but they smell.
We've gone through it before. They don't smell like semen, so they're not dogwoods.
Oh.
They're an orchid type flower, but they are budding, and I see them through my window. It's a true rite of spring, which I mention every year. And in that window that I looked there, there is a picture I gaze at all the time of a wonderful nephew I have by the name of Timmy, and it is at his wedding, and we're embracing and smiling at the camera together. It's a great memory.
So the orchids and the Timmy are together in your mind.
What is?
The orchids and the Timmy.
Oh, well, I look out that window more frequently when the orchid tree is in blossom.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, here's Timmy. I think
Timmy is my wife's sister's son, one of two sons. And
how long has he been married?
When was that? Old enough to have two wonderful daughters. The oldest is probably 10.
Wow. Okay.
So I'd say yeah.
Does he still go by Timmy when you're 40? Do you go by Timmy, or are you Timothy at that point?
Tim to most people, probably.
Tim. Yeah.
And I probably call him Tim more than
Timmy.
more than Timmy. But
There's some names that like when you're a kid they have the cute name for you, and then when you grow up, you're like, I'm not Jimmy anymore, I'm Jim.
Yeah,
or
I was Denny.
James or whatever.
I was Denny.
Were you?
Growing up. And when I was in college, you know the story. I was in...
you get in a fight and you're like,
I was in a community
name's Dennis, motherfucker.
I was in a community college, and I met this dude who, partied with me a lot. And friends of friends. And his nickname was Granny. And I don't know why, but he was from Olean, New York. And he put his arm around me after we partied with each other a little bit. He was a big dude, stocky, taller than me, longer hair, beard, and
a big bearded
he put his arm around me. He put his arm around me and he said, "Do you mind if I call you Diggy?" And I said, "Why do you want to do that?" And he said, "'Cause you look like a Diggy." And from that point forward, he called me Diggy, and the nickname stuck in that part of my life, and the people who I live with that. And
boy, nicknames are weird.
To this day, they still call me that.
Boy, whenever a big person puts their arm around you and it was like, "Do you mind if I call you?" And then whatever the fuck they say, like. It's just like, I mean, gosh, I'd rather not you call me, pussy lips, but I guess that's okay. And then they're like, yeah, all right, this is pussy lips from here on out, and it's just like boy, that is another rite of passage in growing up of being given a nickname that you hate. I mean, I don't know if you hate Diggies so much, but I imagine you don't like it so much.
No. I did, the nickname stuck, and people called me that.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst.
I answered to that, and there's this recent story about.
They call you like.
Is that my two of my three granddaughters. And I were playing down in one of the playrooms we have in our house. Many play areas here, and my oldest granddaughter was playing a teacher, and I was just playing a student, and so was her younger sister, my other granddaughter.
Yep.
And so the teacher said to us, "Before we begin class today, I want to know your name." And she called on her sister first and said her name, and then called on me, and I said, Dennis Stanley Joseph Schrantz, but my friends call me Diggy. And the two granddaughters thought it was most hilarious thing
burst out laughing.
That they had ever heard, and they rolled on the floor laughing. And after they gathered themselves, which took moments,
Sure.
the youngest of the two would say, "Ask us again," and the eldest would
to repeat the same.
"Before we get started, you need to say your name." And of course, my one granddaughter, was named after my mother, who had a whole series of nicknames.
Yeah.
Because Florence, is Flory, Flo, Floor, as comes up Ren in the center of it all. And
Ren,
in the case of my my youngest granddaughter, her sister, while she was in the womb, named her 2P. And so that has been her nickname as well. and that then morphs into Toops.
Toopy.
And so she has like 7, 8 different nicknames. And so I've told you, I think I've sang it before, is I wrote a song about all of her nicknames that I still sing to her. But
I mean,
anyway,
that's like when you wake up in
apropos to
bed.
what I can't recall.
When you wake up in bed at night and you're like, to pee or not to pee?
To be or not to be. So,
Like,
oh Lord. And so anyway, they thought when I said my full name, it was the funniest thing. And still, sometimes, and this was weeks ago, the youngest will say, tell me your name. Tell me your full name. And I would say it again, but it wouldn't be so funny. And she would almost fake a laugh because, and they couldn't remember why it was so hilarious.
The first time. Yeah.
You know.
Hey, man, comedy is like that. It's like it's there or it isn't.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes you're a nut, sometimes you're not. Wait, no. What's the slogan? Anyway. So, I feel a song coming on.
Reluctantly crouched at the starting gate, engines pumping and pumping in time. The green light flashes, the flags go up, churning and burning. They yearn for the cup, they deftly maneuver in a muscle for rank. Fuel burning fast on an empty tank. Galactless and wild, they pour through the turns. Their prowess is potent and secretly stern. As they speed through the finish, the flags go down. The fans get up and they get out of town. The arena is empty, except for one man still driving and striving as fast as he can. The sun has gone down and the moon has come up, and long ago somebody left with the cup. But he's driving and striving and hugging the turns and thinking of someone for whom he still burns. He's going the distance. He's all out for speed. She's all alone, all alone, all alone in her time of need. Who
I would never have predicted this song.
Who he's going the distance. Da, 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 da. He's going for speed. Well, she's all alone, all alone, all alone in her time of need.
Yeah, baby. Piece of cake. Okay, that's it for episode number 247. You can find the show notes. This time there are lots of show notes, including the video of all those cocksuckers, etc. at happyhour.fm/247. Looks like we won't be back for another couple of weeks, and then we'll have stories of Italy and other adventures. So, see you in a couple weeks.